Luxury Staffing, the podcast by Morgan and Mallet. Contracts, confidence, and job security in private service.
Hello there, Morgan and Mallet podcast listeners. In today's episode, we are talking with the co-founder of Morgan and Mallet. His name is Morgan Richez. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about contracts, confidence, and we're going to be looking at different job types in private service, in domestic staffing. So before we get started, Morgan, could you just tell us a bit about yourself and how you got started in this industry and how you started Morgan and Mallet as well, please?
Yeah, thank you so much today for the podcast. My name is Morgan Richez. As you say, I am the co-founder of Morgan Mallet. The company was set up in 2015, and I've got a very strong background in the domestic staff industry, as I was a butler and chauffeur before in London 15 years ago, I would say.
Gotcha. Do you miss your days as a chauffeur or a butler, Morgan?
Not anymore, because I enjoy a lot to be an entrepreneur now. But I think it was a very good experience, to do those jobs, because now I can manage this company because of this experience.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it gives the agency a real advantage having co-founders who've done the job themselves and hiring recruiters who have also done this job themselves. Like Danielle, she was an estate manager. Ellie, she was a nanny. Runette, she was a private chef. So yeah, I think it
so
really
important,
helps.
yes.
Yeah, I think it really helps when the recruiters are interviewing the candidates because they know what to look for and they know the situation as well. They've been there themselves. So yeah. Okay, then. As we said, we're going to be talking about contracts, confidence, and all of that.
With pleasure.
So first question, what are the main contract types? Permanent, fixed term, freelance, temporary. Which ones are the most popular, or which ones are the most common for private household work?
Yeah, my experience is permanent, of course. We've got so many requests for permanent roles. I would say it represents 75% of the job we've got today at Morgan Mallet. And the second one is going to be temporary position, a temporary contract. And the last one is going to be freelance. Freelance is more for the chef position, Pilates instructor, this kind of job.
Gotcha. And would you say that's the same globally in every single region?
Yeah, this is the same globally, yes.
Okay. And how can candidates decide which contract best matches their professional and personal goals?
Yeah, but the second answer is going to be the same like the first one. I would say almost all the position and the candidate request for a permanent position, of course. But when we're talking about chef, it's a very good example. We've got some people, they would like to work in, for example, in Florida or even in south of France for the summer, and in the winter they would like to move in Aspen, or maybe Courchevel for the French Alps, or even Stade in Switzerland. So like that, between the season, they can relax. They can relax and stay at home. And it's good for the money as well, because you get an extra money when you work for very private properties in south of France or even in Miami. And when it comes to winter, it's very good opportunity. And as a freelance, you can charge the clients a lot, because there is a lot of requests and they ask for the best chef.
I see. And I guess it's probably more economical for the client as well if the candidate is freelance, because it'll be faster to get started. It's just an invoice that needs to be dealt with. There's no admin
Yes,
work, is there?
and what I see from the ultra high net worth or high net worth, sometimes especially for the private chef, they would like to change. They would like a chef, for this two next week, because they would like to get a Japanese chef, and maybe the next month, as soon as they move the localization, they would like to try something else. So this is another way. It's like the holiday home. They would like to change the localization. They would like to change the style.
Interesting, yeah. And it kind of makes sense, actually, now that I think about it, that permanent contracts are the most common because this is a highly discrete agency and you want a discrete industry, isn't it? So it makes sense. You want one person to trust to stay long term rather than cycle through
Exactly.
lots of temporary one.
The turnover is not very good, for this kind of client because, as you explained, they would like to stay discreet. They can be a celebrity, they can be a VIP client. The property are very valuable property. So this is something we advise to the client when it's very important to make a good recruitment because you need to keep your staff because for the trust as well, it's very important to have a staff for a long time. But even for the services, I guess, as a butler, and this is a perfect example, after 5 years or 10 years with your employer, you know exactly what he needs without to talk to him. So this is a luxury services.
I see. I see. So as the candidate, week by week, they learn more, they gain more experience, they know the personality. So the service is going to get better and it's going to get even more luxurious with each year.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. Interesting. And I'm just going to skip ahead because we've answered a few questions already. So how do contract types vary legally between the UK, the EU, and the Middle Eastern markets?
Hmm. My feedback is, of course, it's very important to respect and to be compliant, and it's very important to have a good base. This is something I explain to my clients. To attract the best candidate, you need to be very clear and to respect the regulation and the laws, because you can scare the candidate when something is not very clear or even the contract doesn't explain all single details and all the cases as well. So it's so important. And the other thing, if I compare Europe, UK, or even US, of course, US and UK are very flexible contract. You can get someone and you can terminate someone in a very quick way without any reason. So UK is a special case because after 2 years, they can change the way how you need to proceed. The most complicated country, of course, is France, and we've got the award for that. So it's very important to follow the process for every single step at the beginning when you set up the contract, or even when you would like to terminate someone. There is few steps, and you need, of course, to find a really good reason to terminate someone. So this is completely different market.
And with regards to the Morgan and Mallet recruiters, do you find a lot of times, or do you find that candidates are contacting the recruiters saying, what's my position here? What's my situation? Or what rights do I have? Do
Yes.
they ask for advice a lot? Yeah.
Yes, of course. Every single day we got some requests from the candidate, but even from the clients, regarding the laws and regulation. It's very important to say that we are not attorney or lawyer. So it's very important to talk to a professional. It's very important. But of course, we can give some advice, in order to give our feedback experiences. But always, for every single case, when it comes to very serious case, we always advise to talk to an attorney or lawyer.
I see. I see. Gotcha. And how can domestic professionals protect themselves with it contractually while staying attractive to employers? It's a tricky question.
It's a very difficult question, because as a candidate, you can't be so picky when you get a new contract, of course, because for the employer it can be very scary. He's going to say, okay, I'm looking to hire a butler or a lawyer. It's not the same. So that's why it's very important to be diplomat, and that's why it's very good to talk to an agency. And this is plenty of role, to be in between the client and the candidate. Like that, we can protect the candidate reputation. Because of course the candidate is right, he needs to protect himself and to make sure the contract is fully compliant. And we can, as an agency, we can talk under the name of the candidate without to say those questions from the candidate. Like that, we can preserve the candidate's reputation. And of course, as a recruiter, we can make sure that the contract is fully compliant, from the client because we got enough experience now.
I see. I see. So it's like the added value of being recruited through Morgan and Mallet is that you get this service and everything is far more likely to be compliant and above board. Both interests are served, client and candidate, when there is a recruiter involved rather than going direct, for example.
Exactly. This is exactly how it was and how it is. But when it comes to very complicated contract, for example, with traveling role, or when the client asks for 5 or 10 people, a new team to set up, we always advise, to hire an attorney or lawyer. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and like that, everyone is happy. Everyone has the same rules, and it's very clear.
I see. I see. Does that happen often where you have to assemble a whole new team?
Yes, not every single day, unfortunately, but it comes, twice or two or three times a month. We get a request for a new property, uh, and they need to set up the team, between two and sometimes 10 people. Yeah.
I see. And I'm assuming here, but I would guess it's a more challenging work environment when everybody's new in a household. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but now we got enough experience and a method to build up this team. Of course, we start by the estate manager, the household manager, and step by step, we are going to set up the hierarchy in this order, in order exactly to set up the new team and to make sure the ambiance is good. Because
Mm,
of course the skills is so important in the household for every single employees, but the ambiance is very important. So that's why we start by the management in order to make sure that we got a good manager, the warehouse they are going to set up the team. So some people who knows how to set up a new team and got this experience before, as well.
I see. I see. And what advice would you give to a candidate who is going to be part or is going to join a new team of all new butlers, all new housekeepers?
The most important is to have a clear vision from the employer to understand what he needs and where he wants to, how he wants the organization in their household. Because
Mm,
it's very important to not forget that the client is the one who decide, first of all. And after, of course, as a recruiter, the best advice we can say is it's important to not go too fast and to make sure that the coordination, of course, we are not here to set up a friendly team and everyone has to be friends. It's not this, but it's very important as a manager to make sure that the ambiance is good, the coordination is good. We've got people who can communicate in a good way, stay professional, and maybe to work closely to the recruiter as well. For example, if I hire an estate manager to set up a new team, maybe we are going to work in a partnership to recruit the new people. Is going to be part of the recruitment as well.
I see. I see. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense because the estate manager probably knows he's on the property. He knows what type of gardener he wants for that new household, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And are there any common mistakes that candidates or families make when choosing contracts?
Yes, sometimes they would like to make a contract in a quick way. It's going too fast. This is the biggest mistake. It's important to take time and try to cover all the cases. It's very important, and of course, to be compliant with the laws. Of course, this is a must. But take your time, discuss about everything, try to cover and to list every single duties, task, cases when the employer is there, when he's not there, if it's a lead-in position, leave out. There is no too long contract. It's very important to cover everything because for both parties, it's very important to make it clear. It's very
I
important.
see. I see. So a very long, detailed contract that covers almost every eventuality, if possible, or as many as they could think of. So everything's just crystal clear for both parties before the actual employment starts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Some people, some clients, sorry, and family office, they used to get a simple template, something very done by EA, by ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Gemini, and they set up this in one pages, and that's it. So this is not the way how I advise my clients.
I see. I see. So when you see a contract like that, you'll say, "Oh no, we can't work with this. It's going to cause problems later down the line."
Yeah, exactly.
And do you give them draft contracts or do you advise them to go to
Of
a
course,
lawyer?
yeah. Again, we for the contract, it's very important to talk to an attorney or to a lawyer. The only thing we can do as a recruiter, as a agency, is to advise about experience, about tips, to say, for example, to the client, okay, do not forget to talk about the accommodation, to talk about the description of the accommodation, for example, what they can do, what they cannot do in the accommodation. These kind of tips. And sometimes we are happy to discuss and to partner with some attorney because the attorneys they knows about the compliance, but sometimes they doesn't have enough experience in the household as well. So that's why we have a very strong collaboration. But the role of the contract, of course, is from the attorney or the lawyer.
I see. I see. So it's is it quite frequent? Is it quite common for Morgan and Malley to be involved in writing the contract and saying to the attorney, hey, you need to cover for this situation or for this environment.
Yeah.
Redo the contract, please.
Yeah, I won't say this is common because the ultra high net worth or even high net worth, they used to have a family office, single family office or multi-family office. So they've got an attorney already, or they've got a very good advisor, when if you're talking about wealthy people. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's happened that we have a very strong collaboration, in order, to have this kind of meeting and to discuss and try to cover every single topics.
Gotcha. Interesting. Final question. Are we seeing a shift towards more flexible employment models? Because we see this in society, with like the Uber, Just Eats, and this gig work economy. Is there a similar trend towards more flexible employment in the ultra high net worth households?
To be honest, no, we don't face any issue in this thing because this is a niche market. Again, we are so protected, like EA, we are so
Yeah.
protected about the flexibility on the contract, and I think this is we are not affected at this time about this.
Yeah. And it also just goes against what we were talking about before about the privacy, the discretion, the
Yes.
building up to a luxury service through years of experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes
And
sense.
again, when you own a very big property, mansion, penthouse, chalet, whatever, you need a full-time and permanent people, in order to do the maintenance and to make sure everything is very well maintained.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Final question. Is there anything about the laws, the contracts, the regulations regarding candidates that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
Yeah, I think it's very important to talk about, and we did an article about that this week, about the traveling people,
Yeah.
because we got so many requests from the client from US or even from Monaco or Middle East. They used to travel with their staff, housekeeper, PA, and a private chef for the most popular position for this kind of traveling role. And it's very important to make sure that you are compliant as well, because if you spend too much time in France or in UK or in US, you need to choose the right contract and you need to cover this topic as well, in order to protect yourself for the laws and regulation, for the medical insurance as well, and of course for the visa. So
I see.
this is a very important question, and we got this kind of request.
I see. So if, let's say, there's a family based in the south of France and they're taking everybody over, include the whole family, all their team, to watch the World Cup games in the US, for example,
Mhm.
they would need to really review the contracts and see if there's any changes. And I guess as well, there would be a limitation to the amount of days they can spend in the new
Exactly, there
location.
is limitation. And for example, if I'm talking about the French regulation, there is some form you need to fill out before to go. You need to advise the administration to make it clear and to explain the situation. Because it's not good, to take the risk and to get a control overseas and to say, okay, who is these people? They're working
Mm,
for you, but they got a French contract or whatever.
mm.
They work in US or they work in Middle East without any authorization. So that's why it's very important to have a clear organization. And again, we are still happy to assist and to give tips to the family office or even to the PA to reorganize this.
Super. Very interesting. Okay, that's it from me
Mhm.
today. Thank you very much, Morgan.
You're
And
welcome.
I'd just like to say to all the listeners that you can get in contact. You can have a look at the jobs at householdstaff.agency/jobs. You can see all the positions there. And yep, get in contact if you've got any questions. And thank you for listening and wishing you a super day.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Benjamin. Have a lovely day. Thank you.